Hello, warm weather right there. It's not. I tried to tell you. I told you. I told you. I told you. The models are not seeing the pattern. Look at this tweet from Cold Rain a couple of days ago. I can't wait for the models to turn this around. This was on December the 2nd. It took 48 hours for the European to turn it around, and now we have a trough digging into the east. It is correcting colder, and we're going to get back to that in just a minute. But right now, we've got winter weather headed into the south, or at least part of the south and part of the mid-Atlantic too. Look at this. Winter weather advisories up here for Virginia and northern North Carolina into the mountains for a little bit of a winter storm. Not a big one, just a little nuisance event coming up. Maybe, if we play our cards right, we get a little bit of a better chance at something a little more meaningful. Sorry, my eye is itching. A little more meaningful on Monday. We'll see. Lake effect snow still going on up here in New York State, and then more energy working into the west, bringing snow out to some of the high elevations out here, and some of the ski resorts finally picking up some snow out west. That is good news. Well, we're going to start here with the southern winter storm. I'm going to show you what might happen on Monday. Then we'll take a quick look at the long-range pattern and some of the signals that continue to support winter. I know some of you just want to not believe and want to kick the can down the road and want to punt December and say inevitably the warm-up is coming as we get through the month because the models keep showing it. Well, they have to be right? Well, we'll see. I'm not so sure on that. I think we're going to have a pretty cold December when it all is said and done. Do we get a couple of days in here or there where we get some warmth in the east? Yeah, we're going to see that probably. It's just winter, and that's how it goes. No pattern is set forever, but yeah, we'll see predominantly a cold pattern, I think, in the east, regardless of what the models show. You folks out west are certainly seeing some warmth, but in any event, here we go. Here's what the NAM is showing, and I'm using the NAM because I think it lines up pretty well with my expectations of what this event is going to turn out to be. Most of the snow that we see is going to fall up here along the Virginia border, and north of the border, the NAM has the footprint back in here into southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky for western Virginia, and on up through in and north of Richmond and back over in towards central Virginia up toward Roanoke. I think that's where we're going to see the biggest footprint of snow, and it's going to be sort of spotty in terms of the precipitation and where it comes down most persistently and heavily. Yeah, you could get 2 or 3 inches of snow up here. I think some of these 4-inch spots, maybe a spot or two, but I think the NAM is about right with its footprint. I don't think we're going to see a lot here in North Carolina this time, unfortunately, but then again, it never has been billed as being a big system. Look at the European. The European really agrees with this. This is, when you have the NAM and the European agreeing with each other, and most of the other models kind of in the general vicinity, I think we can sort of take this to the bank. This is where the heaviest footprint of snow is going to fall. Maybe it gets a little bit more down in here to the northern mountains of North Carolina, you know, an inch or two, but temperatures are kind of going to be marginal here, and we're not really looking at heavy precipitation rates, but it may fall heavily enough in spots to pile up to the tune of 2, maybe 3 inches out here in the mountainous areas, even some of the northern foothills. But out back into the Piedmont, if we see an inch over here in Greensboro, I'd kind of be surprised about that. Probably going to see more in the way of a dusting to a 1/2 inch along the border there. And if we take a look at some of the other things like sleet and freezing rain, NAM shows a little bit of sleet along the border. I think that's probably right. Maybe get down here into the southern foothills. Wouldn't surprise me to see a few ice pellets and freezing rain. Not looking at a lot of icing, just like I said yesterday. Some of the models have been wanting to show a big ice storm or kind of a moderate ice storm, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Temperatures are marginal and going to be hugging the 32-degree, value, and when you get that, you don't really see a lot of ice accrual, and you tend to kind of oscillate back and forth around that 32-degree isotherm there. So maybe back into the mountains, you get a little bit of a glaze, but out here, I'm really not looking at more than, what the NAM is showing here, just some spotty light freezing rain. If you take a look at the European, and we'll do the same thing, we'll show the European sleet total, and it's even less than the NAM. It's probably not picking up as well as the NAM is on the thermal profile, so you're seeing a little bit less in the way of that, and certainly freezing rain, it's not excited about that either. I think at the end of the day, the best chance for freezing rain is out here in the mountains, maybe a couple of spots along the border, and sleet certainly could be a possibility. Some of the other models are showing a little bit more sleet, so maybe that happens. We can get enough snowflakes melting to cool the atmosphere down through that evaporation process, and eventually maybe refreeze a little bit, turn us over to sleet. In any event, here's kind of how things play out as we go through the next 12, 24 hours. We're looking at we approach midnight tonight, really start to see precipitation crank up here, rain moving in. Temperatures are going to be above freezing for a large portion of North Carolina. Back here, you get above the Tennessee and North Carolina borders, you start to turn into see more in the way of snow, but mixed bag of precipitation back here in the mountains. And that just continues mountainous areas into the foothills. Again, freezing rain, some sleet in the morning hours as we approach 7 a.m. This is happening early. It's coming in early overnight. It's going to be a fast mover. You get a heavy burst of precipitation and above the border. That's going to be probably snow as temperatures are below freezing up there. We'll look at temps in a minute. But majority of North Carolina's rain until you get along the border counties for a couple of rows of counties, and then back in toward Hickory and over in some of these areas here, Marion, Asheville, Morganton, looking at potentially a little bit of snow and freezing rain mixed as you get on in toward 7 a.m. And look at that, it's sort of winding down. And as it winds down, we don't have that evaporation cooling or evaporative cooling process going on anymore as the precipitation leaves. And you're just left with some spotty light, freezing drizzle or sleet. You're probably not going to see any sleet pellets then, but maybe a little bit of light snow in Virginia as we get on in toward tomorrow afternoon. By the time we get to tomorrow evening, just some scattered showers in the east, and that's it. Not a big weather maker, but it could cause some slick spots. So don't want to underplay that. Certainly when there's a chance of winter weather, you certainly have the opportunity for some slick spots on the roads. So just be careful with that as you head out tomorrow. And I'm going to go over to this display so you maybe can see the top line here a little bit better. Temperatures as we get on in toward the evening hours tonight, head toward midnight. Look at this. Much of North Carolina outside of the mountains is in the mid to potentially upper 30s, 40s to the east. It's going to take an effort, quite a lift to cool this down. And as the rain starts to fall, get dew points low, below freezing, we'll see evaporative cooling take place. Okay, so we see that evaporational cooling and the thermal profiles come into line by the time we get up toward 7 a.m. tomorrow. Much of the mountains here in the northern mountains where it's precipitating heavily are going to fall below freezing. Along the border, you should be below freezing. Everybody in Virginia should be below freezing when you wake up tomorrow. So if there's precipitation falling, it's likely to be snow. The thermal profiles support it until you get down into North Carolina. And so we'll watch that as we go through the day. Much of the area stays in the 30s. It's going to be a cold, raw day with some cold rain on tap for us tomorrow for much of the state. And that just persists on in toward the overnight hours tomorrow night. Here are your dew points as we look at dew points tonight. 30s for much of North Carolina. The high pressure is way up in the northeast. It's advecting that dry air in, but it's a fast moving high. It's not established, and we don't have a big feed established. It's just going to be a quick hitter. You can see those dew points kind of moving in as we get toward midnight. Now we're above or we were for a minute there below freezing, below 30 for much of the northern North Carolina. And you see as the precipitation falls into it, things start to moisten up a bit. We still continue to see a bit of that push in through the day tomorrow. So as long as the dry air feed is coming in at least a little bit, you have the chance to stay around freezing up into the northern portion of the viewing area here, so to speak. And as we get on into tomorrow night, things will dry out and everybody will go below freezing most likely. And there is your wider view showing much of southern West Virginia into eastern and central Virginia with a little band of snow here, anywhere between 1 and 3 inches, not out of the question. You get up toward DC, have a lot less up there. Maybe you get a dusting to an inch to a half an inch to an inch, something like that. You get on over toward the Delmarva region, and you can pick up a little light snow there as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at with this first system. Okay, so that's system number 1. We got system number 2 on deck, and the European, I'll just have to tell you, the other day it looked like this southern stream energy might really be kind of robust and produce a widespread area of at least light to moderate precipitation across the area in the south. But look at the European. We come on in here toward let's say Sunday morning. We'll call it 7 a.m. Sunday morning. You got energy diving into the south from the northern stream, another little piece of energy moving in the southern stream. And look at that. Boy, you just don't see a whole lot of precipitation response. You get a little bit here in Georgia to South Carolina, maybe a 0.2 of an inch, maybe a 1/4 of an inch, something like that. But North Carolina looks dry, Virginia looks dry, and then other systems kind of swing on through the week. That's the European. operational model itself, but look at the European ensemble or the European AI ensemble mean, and look how it has ticked up over the last few runs. My friend Jay, who posts on Southern Weather, caught this and produced an image there, and so I'll give him credit for me seeing that and posting it here. But we do look at trends, and that's important to look at, and the trends have been for this to be a little bit more robust over the past few runs of the European AI model. Okay, so there's all these different models that run, and some of them have shown a little bit of a tendency to increase the precipitation. The European itself is still unexcited, but we've seen this, and this is encouraging. Gotta have precipitation if you want winter weather. And here is the energy that kind of makes it all come together. You see this? You got your northern stream energy right up here. This is moving in this direction like that. And as that comes through, it allows high pressure to build in and lay down cool air. You've got a snowpack up there, so it doesn't take a big high to kind of drive the the cool air in if we can get that to hang out just a little bit. And here's the southern stream energy. Look at this. It's kind of getting stronger as it moves in, at least brighter in these colors, so it's a little bit more spin in the atmosphere. I'd like to see this thing really sharpen up, but it's not going to do that. So there is kind of a cap on what we can expect out of this, but still it takes a favorable trajectory for portions of at least the upper south here and the upper southeast, again, to get hit with a potentially, light to maybe a moderate winter event if things came together just right. We're going to be looking at temperatures here in a second, and there it goes. So that's what's driving it, and hopefully it will hold together. Looking at temperatures as we go into Monday morning, again, we're looking at temperatures in the 30s. That is not ideal when you want a big winter storm. However, if you have a sort of a shallow warm layer, those snowflakes can survive all the way to the ground if it is snowing. And so as we go through the day on Monday and we get on in toward Tuesday evening, we see temperatures fall just a little bit, and we get into Tuesday night, and the precipitation should be well wrapping up by this time. But in any event, here's your 850. So we look at temperatures aloft too to see if it's below freezing. And this white line is the freezing line. Looking at when we've got rain moving into the area here Monday, early morning hours Monday, and as we get on into Monday morning, probably still some precipitation ongoing, and that 850 zero line, that below freezing line, is crashing into the southeast as that storm system kind of moves to the coast, and you get that northerly flow in behind it and high pressure working in. So kind of going to be right on the margins again here in North Carolina temperature wise, if you believe the AI, and it could be a little warm. It could be running a little warm here. We still have several days to figure this out, but we're in the ballpark. The ingredients are on the table. We just got to bake the cake, and that's how it is in the southeast. You folks up here in the north, you just get these clipper systems and they just dump snow on you, and no big deal. It's just very cold up there. Well, here we got to fight a lot, fight tooth and nail, scratch and claw, whatever analogy you want to use to get a winter storm together. But it's good to have the ingredients on the table. Most Decembers, we all we have is just an empty bowl. All right, so we've got things to work with, and that is good to at least see. Now, looking on down the line just a little bit here, let's go back to this and see if we can look at this view a little bit. My friend Grit here strikes again. I like Grit. He is very smart. He has access to a lot of graphics and has a good way of thinking about the weather and does a good job posting stuff. And he posted this on our forum. This is our website, southernweather.com. Just to give you guys some encouragement for if you're seeing those orange colors over the east, look at this. At the end of the GFS here and the Euro, I'm going to show you in a minute. Look what it's doing. This purple color, very cold air. Okay, just know that purples and pinks are cold. Look what's happening. It's migrating across the pole. Why is that? Well, we've got a big EPO block up here, a negative Western Pacific oscillation. All of those things work together to drive that cold, keep that cross-polar flow going. When you want to get cold into the central and eastern portion of the country, you get that really cold, that vodka cold, as they call it. You need that cross-polar flow, and well, we see it here on the GFS, and if we scroll down here, we see it on the European too. Look at that. Just sets up and just pound town here, central Canada. It's coming in. Cold air is coming in. So maybe we get a break in about 10 or 11 days for a couple of days, and then we go right back into the freezer again. And if you want snow, you need cold, don't you? That's right. You sure do. Here's your MJO, the latest updated MJO from the Europeans. Look at this. Bounces around here in the circle of death, comes back out. This is a good signal. You want cold in the east. This is a good signal for it. So, not, again, as we say, the MJO, the stratosphere, one thing, another thing, by itself doesn't make a pattern, and everything sort of works in its own way to influence the atmosphere. And sometimes certain things matter more than others. But all of these things kind of working together here gives me high confidence that we're going to see a continuation of the predominantly cold pattern. GFS is very excited. I'll be interested to see what the weeklies say when they come out later today, or the new extended version of the European. And there is yesterday's version, and it just, for the foreseeable future, we stay in phase 8. Hard to ask for a better outcome of this, at least for now, in December. Now, we'll go back to show you one more thing here, actually 2 more things, maybe 3 more things, and then we're done. But look at this. Here's your stratosphere. Stratospheric polar vortex. You see the circle there, and you kind of see it getting stretched. Stretched is good because it keeps it weak, and it allows the jet stream to kind of buckle down, and you see the cold, kind of got a cold anomaly over here. You got a cold anomaly over North America, and boy, eventually that North American one just kind of becomes the predominant one, and migrates to central Canada, and that's good. That's what you want to see. And so it starts to strengthen a little bit toward the end of the run. But again, we saw that a while back, and then we had another sort of little stratospheric warming event going, becoming pronounced in the models as we get on out toward later this month. So encouraging signals. This is what you kind of want to see if you're a winter weather fan. And of course, here's the European ensemble itself, the one that I tweeted about. And as we go on out toward the next 5 days, blues in the east, warm, reds in the west. That's warm here, cool there. Big block up here over Greenland. We're going to watch these blocks. These are becoming persistent in the pattern, and that's good. Eventually, things are going to time out where we get a big dog snowstorm out of this. But right now, we're just kind of watching the pattern. There comes another big Arctic blast in as we head on in toward the 11th of December. And then that moves out. And there is the image that I posted the other day, or that I posted here, that had the big trough in the west and the ridge in the east 2 days ago. Now look what it's doing. Okay, there it is. And eventually we get on out here, and another big cold blast kind of sets up. So models are starting to catch up to the tropical forcing. And there you have it, my friends. That's what you've got. In the meantime, over the next couple of days, we have very, 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 very cold air, record-setting cold up here from the Midwest over to the Northeast, and kind of a tight gradient from the below zero figures to the 30s, as you head on toward the south and east. But much of the nation cold for overnight lows tonight. Temperatures warming up a pretty good deal tomorrow, but not getting above freezing north of that little blue line there from eastern Montana all the way into the northeast, and then 30s and 40s. This is a wintertime pattern, my friends. Florida warm, and parts of Texas and the desert southwest very warm. And then tomorrow morning, more cold air punching in out of Canada with temperatures below zero again for lows up here, and also very cold in Maine. So wear the sweaters and put another log on the fire. Going to need it. So got the big sunspot cluster turning in. I'll show you a little bit more about that in a full episode of Cold Rain's Weather World tomorrow. I have your weather IQ question as well, but those sunspots aren't going anywhere. They're still big, they're still ugly, and they could launch a big solar flare at any time. So I will be watching it all, and I will report back to you so that you stay in the loop. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, leave a comment. If there's anything I can be a prayer about, please put it in the comment section. Let me know if you got any questions. And of course, as always, this is Cold Rain reminding you the weather runs 24/7, but I got you covered right here, right now. Cold Rain's Weather World, 4814. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. God bless.